Hey guys, I'm Barb and welcome to episode 16 of Creators Campfire. If you're new here, then this is a live stream podcast where I interview all sorts of creative people. So entrepreneurs, side hustlers, content creators, and general aspiring talent to find out more about what they do, why they do it, and how they do it. For those joining us live tonight, if you have any questions for our guest as we go through the interview and the episode, then please just drop them into the comments and we'll get to them as we go. Speaking of tonight's guest, we have Danny Shapiro with us, who is a physiotherapist, and he is from Brooklyn, New York, and he is the founder of Project Physical Therapy. Now, he's actually a trained ballroom dancer and competed when he was a child. But tonight we'll be finding out more about Danny's journey, exactly the perception he's trying to change in the medical and healthcare industry, and more about how it's closely linked to mental health. So, guys, please welcome Danny. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. It's so great to be here with you, and I'm super excited to dive into all the awesome things we're going to talk about. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one.
Love it. Yes, I think it is going to be very good. And thank you very much for joining me. This is going to be good, I think. So before we get stuck into, I guess, what you're doing now, I don't think we can move on. Well, I don't think I can move on until we talk a bit more about your ballroom history. So do you want to start there and give us a brief background about yourself?
Oh my God! So I started ballroom dancing as a child, around 4 or 5 years old. That's kind of when my parents were like, "All right, you're doing this now," and so I only really got serious with it like around 8, 9 years old or so. That's when things got really kicked into gear, because by 10 years old, I was already doing my first United States representative world championship in England, in Blackpool actually, and. So that was really my first world championships at 10, and then pretty much every year until I stopped around 20ish years old before I went to PT school. I was going through multiple different world championships, a few of them every year for the dancing that I was doing. I was one of the top U.S. competitors, and yeah, it was a journey. It was a journey. It's one that I would not give up for anything in the world, and one that has taught me a lot about, first of all, myself, and a lot about human interaction and just plain old conversing with people, and how it's the simplest things, whether it's body language or tone or everything else. I learned that from a very, very young age, how to actually talk and not only hold a conversation, but really dive deeper into the essence of a conversation. Right, really into the real meaty context of what it is that that someone is talking to me about something, and really to establish a connection more than just a surface connection, Yeah. And that is what I try to bring with me into my physical therapy career every single day with everyone that I work with and everyone that I see. Dancing I thought I was always going to be a dancer. Like, I thought that was going to be my life. There's even a live performance that I did that was televised where they were doing commentary, and prior to the actual performance, they were like, "So, like, Danny, what do you want to do?" Okay, Danny's partner, her name is Catherine at the time. They're like, "Catherine, what would you like to do for the rest of your life?" And she was like, "Oh, school. I want to be at this, I want to be that." And I was like, "No, I want to be a dancer." And yet here we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. I guess, how do you go from, I guess it's not even for you, I guess so there are people that maybe want to do something like dance and never compete or never take it professional or anything like that. And therefore you can kind of understand how they get into other things. Whereas you were competing, you were doing it professionally, you were kind of at the top of your game. So how do you go from there to then being a physiotherapist and on the journey you're on now?
So even with my love for dancing, I always had not a secret desire, but like an underlying desire to help people more. And at that time, I thought it was the only way I was able to really help people was through how I would teach them dancing. Because I was known very much so for teaching dancing in a different way that was more understandable. right? It's more digestible and hence more enjoyable because you can understand what you're trying to, as a student who would take a lesson with me, it was more enjoyable. But there was still something missing for me. And then looking around at the dance community and dance events, people were getting injured right and left. And unlike other massive like professional sports, there was always a health team or medic team or something like that for the team or the individual or whatever that they can have easy access to. Dancers do not. Dancers, the only easy access dancers have is to the pharmacy and the Advil. That is about it. Actually taking care of one's body was like unheard of. And if you did do that, you're like, what is wrong with you? You going to a doctor for a bad hip? No. You ice it for a day, pop an Advil, and off you go. And I saw that, I was like, there has to be a better way. Let's do a better way. And so I was like, all right, I think physical therapy aligns with my goals the most in terms of what I can do directly for these other athletes, as well as have the human-to-human interaction that I craved and desired on a day-to-day basis, as well as an actual connection, which is so valuable and so underrated for whatever reason in the medical and health side of of the field. And it's, to me, it's very frustrating, but in a way satisfying because I am trying to change that as much as possible.
Yeah, and I guess, are we talking a connection in respect of, so when you go to the doctors, for example, you kind of have that one interaction, you don't really know the other person, the doctor doesn't really know you, and therefore you don't have that underlying relationship to kind of get to know the patient better, to be better poised to make an assessment or give them the right course of action. Is that kind of what you're talking about here in terms of connection with physio? Or
so the connection that I'm talking about is actually just talking to the person like a person. Treatment aside, I mean that like the medical side of it, I take very seriously, and I give everybody the best possible care that I can. But the connection that I'm talking about is just the human to human connection, like just the pure essence of interaction. Like they know they're at a physical therapist office, right? I know that they're there in pain, but there's no reason why we can't build a stronger connection. I'll give you an example, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to curse here or not sure, but just
I don't mind.
All right, then let's do it. I had a new patient today for the first time. They came in today in my office. They had just gone to the doctor's office, to an orthopedic specialist, very, very top-notch guy. All the athletes go to him, Jets, you name it, the top sports teams. And when he came in for this foot injury, the doctor didn't explain anything, no explanation. They're like, all right, this is what you have, no big deal. Go ahead, do this. Stay in a boot for 4 weeks, get out of here, essentially, right? And when I asked him how he felt about that, he was like, oh, the guy was kind of an asshole. He didn't explain anything to me. I just kind of came there, sat down. Clearly, I wasn't like his regular clientele. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm in a boot for 4 weeks, and left.
Right. Okay.
To me, that's a little messed up.
Yeah.
I don't care how big of a doctor you are or how big of a PT you are. Don't care. At the end of the day, there's a person in front of you that needs help in more ways than just one, right? Physically, the person's injured, but what about mentally? What about emotionally, right? What can he do? He couldn't play baseball. That's a big part of what he loved to do, right? What does that mean for his life? He has work. He can't like go to work because of the foot. What is that like? Right? How does that make him feel? And that's what I mean. That's that human interaction that I love, and I love to build it. I love to encourage it, and I love for people to be themselves.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That absolutely is missing, because again, if you go back to that doctor example, you walk in, you say, this is what's wrong with me. Here's your prescription. You're just an appointment, right? Your appointment on the diary. You're the next person, the next number in the queue. Whereas you're right, you don't have, in that 2-minute or 5-minute interaction or assessment, you don't understand what's going through somebody's mind. And to your point, if that course of action is the right thing for them to do, because if you'd have spent 2 more minutes talking to them and understanding where they're at mentally, it could have been a whole different thing, which would have been just as good, if not better, by just creating that connection.
Exactly. And and I live for that. I live for that connection because it's what's the difference, right? What's the difference between someone going like around my office? I have 5 other PT offices within a half block radius, right? How am I any different? And I refuse to be mediocre, right? Absolutely refuse. I want to give myself and the best of whatever I have in here, as well as here, whatever I do with my hands, uh, to the people that are coming to see me. I want to be the difference in their lives. I want to be the turning point where they can be confident and not be scared of the future and have some kind of assurance of, okay, listen, if it's going to take 3 months, it's going to take 3 months. Same as if it's going to take 3 weeks, fine, it'll take 3 weeks, but I know that. Like I'm certain of it. There's none of this uncertainty floating around like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? Am I going to have surgery? Am I going to have injections? What is happening?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to provide.
Yes. So yes, the physical side of the treatment is very important, but actually that goes hand in hand with the mental side of the treatment. And without them both, then you're right. It's just you're ticking another box. You could be anybody. There's nothing to set you apart. And the person coming in doesn't have the best experience either, because again, they're just like, okay, I'm just another number, another appointment today. Did that kind of, so obviously you're very passionate about that, and you've always known that you want to help people. Has that kind of thought process or that mentality evolved over time? So when you started and you kind of going back to that, or moving from ballroom dancing to the physio, where you knew you wanted to help people and that was inside you, did that kind of mentality evolve over that time, or was that always the case right from the beginning because you were in that environment and you knew that that's what was needed?
I mean, the way I am now is the way I've always been. If anything, I'm a bit more daring when it comes to like putting myself into people's lives, because I know I recognize that people don't want to open up to you sometimes. Like it happens. Everyone has a certain wall. It's, people are skeptical when they go to doctors or PTs, like, is he going to be an asshole? Is he going to be a person? Like, what are we dealing with here? So if anything, I'm a bit more daring with making it known that I'm here for you. Right. But regardless, I am the same way I came in. That's the same way I am now. If anything, I even grew more passionate because I see what it does for people, and that excites me more. Like I'm super psyched about it. Going through clinical rotations, going through the actual residency part of my PT education, I kind of saw what my environment looked like. And I also saw what other environments looked like, right? And I for sure knew a change needed to be made, right? Some people need something different. And that's, again, but my opinion of how I was going to be when it was my turn to enter the practice field has not changed. I'm the same way I was then with that same mentality as I am now. Again, if anything, I just got more excited and more daring about it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But that's great to hear, because I guess you had grown up in that environment and you saw it firsthand. You saw what you would have needed and what your kind of fellow competitors needed. So you knew exactly what to do going in. And it just so happened that that was something that really excited and drove you to be that person to other people. So it was like a natural fit.
Yeah, exactly. It felt just like a puzzle. One piece is missing, just that piece is in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yes. Yeah. So how do you approach your clients or your appointments, and how do you kind of change people's mentalities in that appointment? Because you're right, if they're coming in, they've possibly seen other physios or other people in the healthcare profession, and they kind of have this expectation of what it's like. It's the same thing. So how do you go about creating that different environment and setting yourself apart and making them feel safe?
So, and let me just, before I answer that, it's actually really interesting. 90 to 95% of the people that I see have all been to other PTs. All of it, like 90 to 95. That's a very large percentage. I see a lot of people. A lot of them have seen other PTs and been to other doctors, including chiropractors, you name it, right? So that tells me a lot. Like, and then they stay with me. And then if anything ever was to come up, someone came into it with a knee, treated their knee. 2 years later, Danny, hey, shoulder, something's up my shoulder. Can I come back in? They always come back, and that's for a reason, right? When someone comes to me, whether it's for the first time or for the 10th time, I try to be very inviting. Like, again, I know you're here. So do you. Like, you're in a PT office, right? I try to explain everything, right? Like on my walls in my office room, I have, a picture of the muscular system, skeletal system, neuro system, everything. And I vehemently, I very much so use them, all of them. Whatever the person needs for as an explanation. That already on its own, without me doing anything else, if that was the only thing I was gonna do, that already makes the person that is sitting on my table or laying down on my table so much more comfortable to know exactly what is going on. The walls drop, right? So if I was to only do that, that's already a big, big step. A lot of people just skim over it or just answer with very general answers that don't really answer the person's question. And I know because I've been in that experience, not myself, but have literally seen a CI do that. I'm like, come on, they want information. Just give it. They're here. Just give it to them. So I try to do that very big time. The other thing is something as simple as making jokes. I have terrible dad jokes. I'm no dad. I'm not a dad, by the way. I'm just preparing, but I make dad jokes. Just to ease up the tension, right? People come with severe pain, full body pain. Nothing breaks the ice like just a really bad joke. I laugh at myself, they laugh at me too, and we move on, right? So little micro icebreakers all throughout the conversations, making them feel at ease. Even just when they come in, I personally offer them a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, a cup of water. Just again, they're coming to PT office, but I want it to feel like they're coming to a second home, right? Super comfortable.
That's very nice. I get it. That's the thing. It's the small things that make a difference, though, and I think people overlook them. They're so simple, but just asking somebody how they are genuinely even makes such a difference.
Exactly.
Going back to the other PTs or other professionals in the industry and how they deal with people and not giving the explanation, what do you think the reason behind that is? Is that because I obviously it doesn't sound like it's a lack of education, because obviously you need to have all the qualifications. Is it just people skills, and is that therefore missing from training, or do you think it's anything else?
So unfortunately, you can't teach people skills. Unfortunately, it's something that someone has to come across on their own. And again, luckily, I had that through dancing, right? So that I learned at a very young age kind of how to talk, right? Not just what to say, but kind of just how to do it. But I think to be a PT, you have to be a people person. Like to enter that profession, even think about it, you have to be kind of a people person. At the end of the day, it comes down to a couple of things. One, either laziness or burnt out, like just burnout, right? Or two, just no time. So the way my office works, the way my practice works is that I am out of network with most insurance plans, which means that I don't have to see 5 people an hour to make sure that my lights stay on. I get to see 1. So whereas most PTs see anywhere from, let's say, 25 to 35 people a day, I see maybe 10.
Okay, so they're going through a churn process.
Right. So I have the time and the luxury to be able to actually explain everything, to fully go into depth with everything. Really work on the plan of care, one-on-one time, right? I don't have to chase money from the insurance policies. I get to run it how I want to run it, which is in their best interest, not the insurance policy's best interest, right? When it comes to PT, this is huge. They're termed PT mills for a reason, because they have a ton of people at the same time all doing generic nonsense that is no good for anybody, and it's just not helpful. And that's why a lot of people who have been through that process have given up, because they're like, well, I've been in PT for 3 months, I've had little to no change. What is happening? Why should I go back?
Yeah, and all of a sudden there's a question mark over the industry and the profession because it's like, well, what is this doing for me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's really either burnout from having too many patients per day and you just literally don't have the strength to talk to somebody. The laziness where you're just, as a medical professional, you say, oh, I'm a PT, just trust me, which is also just, I hate hearing that from PTs and doctors alike. Or it's just no time.
Yeah.
No time.
Which is unfortunate because it does everyone a disservice at the end of the day. Yeah. So I guess now, obviously, we've talked mental health a couple of times, and I guess you can see it from 2 points of view, in that you can see it from how it impacts somebody if they're going through this kind of rough time with these injuries, and therefore the toll that it takes on them. And also, I guess, potentially through frustration of not getting the care that they deserve and need. So, and I guess we've kind of touched upon it, but what are the kind of ways in the whole connection thing, but what are the ways that you would go about changing that and helping people through that, and the kind of reasons why that comes about, I suppose?
So again, people who've been through really serious pain and who've been through the works, right, who've been through just multiple plans of care with other people, there's a disconnect. There's very clear, like someone who's been through 3 or 4 PTs, and I know many who've been through that before finally arriving to my doors. There's been a serious disconnect between treatment, right, and conversation. Treatment, because again, it's one of those generic things that just don't help, or they help to a certain point because at that point anything would help. But then there's no, you hit a ceiling and then you can't burst through it, right? They're stuck. Still with severe amounts of pain, stuck. Right. So again, like there's no, they feel like they can't go anymore. And then on the conversation side of things, it's just like when someone comes into me with serious pain, they're emotionally drained, right? They have given up. That's it. I'm the last stop. I'm the last that I've heard multiple times people say, Danny, you're my last stop. Like, if you can't help me, I'm going to accept what the doctor said, and then I'm gonna have to live with this thing forever. Then I'm gonna have to take pain pills forever, and like, this is it. Now, on my side, I'm like, oh my God, this is serious, right? This is really serious, and I try my best to make sure that I hear them. I not just say, oh, okay, you have pain, I got you, but really hear them, really connect with them, and really try to make sure that I get every little bit of emotional feedback and emotional language that I can from them to really understand what they're going through. Because once I understand, it guides how I speak, right? So I try to get all that information out of them. And when they experience that, when people experience that desire to actually hear what they want to say, they're more likely to open up and really give you everything. And once they do that, then it's just a matter of changing the perspective, right? To being so purely negative, such poor experience with PT, poor experience with their injury, poor experience with their pain, and flipping that, right? Even if we can only improve 50% if it's a certain condition, we can only improve 50%, but we can make that 50% flip into a positive instead of just a negative, bringing down, that you've already done them such a big, like, it's such a load off, right? Flipping the conversation from negative to positive is so important, and it's so important to know how to do that. But the only way to really be able to even start to do that is to actually care enough to listen what they have to say. Without it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, how do you, so obviously you're doing it in your practice, and I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands of people that are incredibly grateful for that. But how do you start to change the industry or how do you start to make that change more widespread and have other people doing the same thing and not just go through the churn?
So there's a few things that I can do personally, right? One is take on students from schools, right? Easy, right? Show them a different way of treatment, right? Aside from physical therapy knowledge, just again, the connection part of it. What I can't do is retrain or speak to all the other PTs that are out there. There are really amazing PTs who really care and who are already doing what I'm talking about, but there are not enough, which is the problem. Right? We are the minority, right? That's what it is. The other two things that can be done is either one, the people who come in to see me after having all those bad experiences, or even for the first time, right? The bar is now higher. We just raise the standards, right? So all their friends, all their family who go elsewhere for any kind of pains or any kind of injuries will hear about that, right? So the standards are now high. Whether it's me or somebody else, the standards are now higher. And eventually, the people who are still have some catching up to do in terms of how they treat people will start to see their numbers. They don't have the numbers coming through the door, and there's a reason for that. And then hopefully that would make spark a difference, but I doubt it. The other way is through social media, right? Really getting people. This is the way that I've found to be really beneficial, is that I can only see so many people a day. Even if my schedule is completely packed out for the next 3 months, I can only see a certain amount. But through social media, by sharing what I think is how people should be treated, those standards now are raised up as well. I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten from people who are like, oh my God, I never thought of it in this way. Oh my God, I was just at the doctor and the doctor said, just trust me. I was at a PT, I asked a question and he was like, oh, just some generic blow off, and then he continued on with whatever he was doing. Oh, machines are no good? They're useless? I'm going to tell my PT to stop wasting my time with them. Great. Awesome. Wonderful. Yes. There we go. Right?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So you are single-handedly leading the revolution, which I love. And actually, before I forget, let's just stay on social for a second, because I have checked out your Instagram, which is, I guess, your TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I see your TikToks through Instagram. So guys, Danny has an awesome Instagram / TikTok page. Wherever you are on, it is like, I just think they're great because they're like a triple threat, right? They've got a bit of fun, they have a bit of education, and they have a bit of positivity. It's like, this is great. Even if you don't have an injury, it's just a bit of positivity, right? And if you do have an injury, then it's done in a great way where it tells you exactly what to do. It shows you how to do it, how to deal with them. And then you do a little dance at the end, because why not? So it's just like, you can't help but just smile after seeing your posts. Like, it doesn't matter what mood you're in, what you're doing. Like, I'll be scrolling and I'll be like, there's Danny. And I'll be like, oh, he's doing his dance. This is great. And it's not like, and I'm not talking the usual TikTok, I'm dancing to blah, blah, blah. It's a nice little like video, and it's great. So yes, sorry, lost my words. What I'm trying to say is, at official Danny Shapiro on Instagram is the handle you guys need to go and follow, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But I guess, like, you can see how much you enjoy doing those coming through your videos as well. So just talk to me about how that happened, what you do, how you do it, and a better explanation, I guess, than what I've just done.
Yeah, it's so funny. I ever since I stopped dancing, I've been thinking about dancing every single day. After it being such a huge part of my life, it's still here in the back of my mind. Every time I hear a song, even remotely with a little bit of rhythm or something, I'm like, oh God, okay, let's go. Always down for it. And I was filming a video that was supposed to be just like, I was going to talk through it. There's like, oh, you know what? I'm not even going to talk. I'm going to just show it. And it was to a song on TikTok. I used TikTok to kind of create the video, and then I posted onto Instagram. So it was a really good song. I was super feeling it at that moment, and I just caught myself dancing while doing the move. I was like, I just let it go for a second, and then I finished filming, and then I looked at it. I'm like, do I post or do I not? And I was literally looking at the damn thing without even editing it for like 20 minutes. I was like, shit, do I do it or not? And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to post it. So I edited it, posted it, and then just the response was amazing. And that was just, it changed my perspective on a lot of things. You find any PT, they're going to show you a move, a stretch, a this, a that, some kind of exercise to make something feel better. But I've come to realize that I need to treat social media the same way I treat people in the office, in the terms of that it shouldn't always be so serious or just about the move, right? It should be a little bit about like, I'm human too. I have things that I enjoy other than PT stretches and exercises, which I still do and love. But there's other things that I enjoy, and sharing that with people brought the reaction that it brought. And kind of just like an explosion in awareness to my page, which is amazing. Because it's just, I love the fact that I'm more human to people. Right? I'm not just another PT with an Instagram account showing exercises, stretches, and mobilizations. There's people can like, I've gotten messages where people are like, I come home from work at the end of the day, like 7 o'clock. I literally sit down on Instagram just to scroll through my Instagram feed to find your videos and just relax a little. I've turned into like the little miniature version of Netflix, like 10-second version of just like, oh, this guy's dancing. Cool. I feel this kind of relaxes me some way for some reason, which I love because people.
That's what I mean. Because I'm just scrolling and I will always stop and I will be like, Danny, he's dancing. Brilliant. I have to watch this to the end. You just can't help it because it is. And you do take it. So every so often where there's like, it's something that resonates with me, i.e. like lower back pain or something, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm going to try that. But even if it's not, I will still watch to the end and be like, yes. And also, you're my go-to, because if I do have a little niggle, I'm like, well, I know who's probably got the answer.
Right?
So, yeah, exactly. So there's nothing you can't fix. But yeah, you definitely, I think you've shown the power of when you can use social media for the good, right? There's a lot of people that use it, and like fair play to them. There's so many different ways to use it, but you're using it, okay, in my opinion, but for the good, and you are creating that change that you want to see. And instead of just talking about it, you're doing it, which is nice.
Talk, right?
Exactly. But it's great. Instead of just going, oh, this needs to change, you're out there, you're doing it, but you're putting your spin on it. You're not forgetting who you are and your background and what you love. And you've found a way to incorporate that. And you're like spreading educational things. So like, there's just a great thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And that is exactly what I've been trying to do from the very beginning. And I finally found an effective way of doing that, like through this, just a little bit of music, a little bit of dancing, and just like letting people let loose, connect, and just want to watch the video. And that's the other thing also, by the way, because the dancing is at the end, I've also found that people have actually, like you said, like you do the move. like you do the stretch, you do the exercise, which is the whole point.
Yep.
Which has been just amazing, because that's what every PT that posts something wishes that someone would do, is just try it, see how it feels, because we all want to make people better. We're people. We're
Yep.
right, person.
People. Yeah, I get it.
We're people.
We're people.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Long morning. I don't know. But yeah, so like I'm so happy that I found a way to connect education, dancing, positivity, raising the standards, and just really changing people's mind about what it means to get physical therapy and what it means to get care, real care for themselves. And it's just so amazing to see all the feedback. It literally, like, this is exactly what I live for. This is exactly why I do it. And it's so amazing to see it kind of just happening.
Yeah, completely. What would you say, though, to people who are either watching this or listening to this and are sitting there thinking, well, I'm in that kind of position where I don't have that person like yourself to talk to or to see, but I am in a lot of pain, and it is having a negative impact on A, my daily life, and B, my mental health, and it's really getting me down, but I don't really know where to turn, and you're in New York. So look, I can't see Danny. What am I supposed to do here? I'm kind of stuck. What would you say to them?
So, fly to New York, book an appointment.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Easy. No, but actually, now that, like, if you're listening to this and you and it clicks, like you get it, that you need to really find someone that addresses not only your physical concerns, but your emotional desire to connect and to share how you actually feel and how it impacts your day-to-day life and everything and anything in between. Go find that person, right? If you need to go to one PT, and it's just not clicking, you're just not happy, right? Go somewhere else, right? It's gonna happen. Sometimes you get really lucky. You find a PT and you guys click, and that's your PT for life. Right? It happens, but sometimes it doesn't. There are reasons why people can go from doctor to doctor, right? PT from PT to PT. They're unhappy for a reason. You just have to have the strength to actually. If you're unhappy, go somewhere else. If you're seeing a doctor right now, I don't care if you're GP, you're PCP, don't care. If you're seeing them and you're unhappy with how you're being treated, go somewhere else. Don't hesitate. You cannot, listen, when it comes to your health, you have to look out for number one. And number one is you, right? If the person that you're seeing is not looking out for you, go somewhere else. Find someone who will. Find someone who will listen to you. Find someone who will care enough to listen to you. Find someone who will give you the care and just the attention that you need, and hold on to them for dear life, right? Find that person. It's gonna take some work, but your health and your well-being is worth it.
I think that's one of the problems that I guess as a human race potentially we have, in that we never put ourselves first naturally, and we have this tendency to think, oh, that's just life, we need to get on with it, oh, this has happened, that's it, there's nothing really that can be done. But you're right, you need to put yourself first, because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. So there's a reason they tell you to put your mask on first on the aeroplane before helping others, right? If you can't help yourself, you are in no position to help anyone else. So there's no point in working yourself to the ground.
Exactly. And again, people need to know that just because you had one bad experience with a medical professional, it does not mean it has to be every single experience like that. And look, even if you find one, you don't like him, go to the next one. If you don't like him, go to the next one. Find someone until you look for someone until you find them. Don't be afraid, don't be shy, don't just take it, right? Don't take it.
Yeah.
Just have the patience and have the courage to find someone.
They're out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. That's
Yeah.
legit.
I'm curious. Have you ever had a patient or a client or whatever they're called that you couldn't quite, I don't want to use the word fix, but couldn't help? And if so, how does that impact you when you can't quite do what you'd hope to do?
So luckily, and I don't want to sound cocky as if I'm patting myself on the back or anything like that. But so far, I haven't had one person who I couldn't help. Some take longer than others, right? Some things really depend. One ankle sprain is not like the other.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes things take a little bit of time. Sometimes the kind of injury that I'm seeing, like there's a lot of different variations to what a plan of care would look like, right? Again, just depending on the lifestyle, injury, everything, right? But what I look at it as, even if something is being delayed, right? The person who's getting the treatment, and this is a kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. I would feel the same way if I had something going on and I went to someone and something is just not quite going. Something is, for whatever reason, the pain is being delayed at a certain point. I make it a point to make sure that that person does not go into that negative side, that they look at the positive. And the positive is that, hey, we actually got you to a certain point here. Your body's at a point of recalibration. So you feel like you're stuck here, but don't worry. We're going to shoot past this in just a little tiny bit, right? Maintain what the home exercise program, maintain this frequency. We're right there. We're almost right there. Right? And when you use that kind of language, the positive language, right? Not the, oh yeah, well, you're kind of stuck. Okay, well, I'm going to see you again 2-3 times next week, right? No. Again, it's an emotional response, right? We need to respond to emotional reactions with emotional responses, right? And this is not to say that I'm bullshitting my patients or I'm lying to them. Like sometimes there is just a little bit of a delay before they make the real solid jump because of that kind of particular injury, right? But the patient needs to know that. They're not the medical professional, right? I am, or whoever anyone is going to see is, right? And that person needs to address that and make it into a positive. Look how far we've come. We may be stuck here a little bit. That's okay. We're right at the point where we're about to break through, and then boom, everything will change. You just got to make that boom and everything change happen.
Yes. Yeah. Follow through.
Exactly. The follow through is the most important.
Yes. But you're right. That goes back to, I suppose, what we were saying earlier about that connection, having those conversations and almost managing expectations. Because if you don't have that relationship and you haven't had those conversations, then the patient doesn't actually know what's going on. And it's very easy for them to go, it's not working, and kind of not come back. Whereas if you've had those conversations, explained everything along the way, then they're more likely to be on the journey with you rather than going, what am I even doing here? This is the same as everything else.
Exactly. Again, pain is super emotional, right? It's not just physical. Pain is super emotional, and it needs to be handled that way. The second you start treating it as only physical, you're at a disconnect. You're not connecting with the person that's sitting there with you, and they feel like crap, and then you feel like crap because you feel like you can't help them because there's something missing, right? There's something missing. I've had people who came into my room and sat on my table who were extremely, oh my God, extremely negative. So negative, right? And it
Was
was
it
like,
me? It was me, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
not allowed to say,
Yeah.
but like by the end of the session they weren't, right? Which is the main point, right? And like people who think that they decide to Google their symptoms and everything is their limb is about to fall off, and I'm like, let's take a step back here for a second. Hold on, punch the brakes. Let's take it back. But yeah, so it's really just being able to handle delays in the progress, being able to handle certain little plateaus, just again because of the nature of the injury. But yeah, so far I haven't come across one person who I was not able to help. And that's, I'm constantly craving new information. I'm constantly craving new techniques. And in fact, so much so that I created my own, that I spent years developing it, creating it, and trademarking it. And this was all to help people in a way that they've never experienced before.
Yeah,
So
that's very nice. It's just refreshing to hear nice things. It's good. I'm just enjoying myself. I have I have a couple of questions. One is it kind of links to the whole mindset thing, and also what you said at the beginning about how you're kind of, when you were doing the ballroom dancing, how people kind of dismissed injuries or played them down. And I guess in terms of mindset, there are people out there that kind of think, oh, I've got an injury, stop being so weak or stop being so lame, it's nothing. Or kind of think maybe, oh, this shouldn't be happening to me, I should be stronger. And think of it along those lines, rather than thinking, okay, there's something wrong with me, I need to go and get it checked out. How would you kind of address them and change their mindset and kind of get them into the mentality that they do need to go and see help, but it isn't a sign of weakness, and sitting there and kind of going, this isn't right, and it playing on their mind, but not doing the right thing about it. So coming to terms with actually having a problem or something.
Yeah. You sometimes, like, especially with athletes, because athletes, whether you're a dancer, like I work with people who are fighters, like, UFC level guys. And you have to put things into perspective, right? When you're dealing with a sport, or even if you're not, and you're someone who's really young and you're like, why is this happening to me? Regardless of why is it happening, I can tell you, if the person tells me what they do in their life, I can tell them why it may have happened. But the reality is that it happened. So that's unfortunate. It absolutely is. But it happened. Now, there's one of two things you can do. Either suck it up, right? Pop the Advil, take the pain medication, and just block the pain signal, and then continue to injure yourself. And if you're an athlete, well, guess what? You just kissed your career goodbye. Or you face the music, you face reality, and you come out even stronger than you did before this injury, right? So who's being the wimp now, right? Who's being the person who, like, it shouldn't happen to? It happened. Let's get you even better than you were before. Let's get you even stronger, more stable, faster, whatever, right? But it's about bringing those people into reality, because people who, and I'm going to be honest, luckily I personally never have sustained a very major injury, and that I can thank my parents for. But I would have, if I would have gotten injured, I would have been like, oh my God, like, how can this be possible? Why is this happening to me? Why should I get treatment myself? Like, that would have been my mentality back then, right? And if I had to come in to see a physical therapist, I would love for someone to put me into a mindset where I can acknowledge the fact that I'm injured and be okay with it. Right? And that's the biggest thing. Being injured and being okay with it, knowing that you're going to come out stronger and better and healthier, and almost as if it was a good thing that they got injured. Right? And I do that often. I make it a point saying, like, hey, listen, like, it is super sad and super unfortunate that you got injured, and I wish you hadn't. But in a way, I'm happy that you did, because you can come out so much stronger from this thing, and you have such a better appreciation for your body. You know that your body is not just some kind of thing that works around what you want. It can break down, and that's okay. Like, your body can break down. Shit happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things happen all the time. I got injured too, stupidly. It was such a stupid injury, but it happened, right? I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks. I had to push off my bodybuilding competition because I couldn't move, but it happened, and I learned a lot from it, right? And that's really the most important. I was super depressed when I got injured. and this was just a few years ago, and I was like, I had a second, like just a second of like, oh my God, I cannot believe this happened to me. I'm incredibly upset. I was just down. I was like, that's it, down for the count. Take me out, sub me in. And I made it a point to get out of that because I know nothing good would come of it. Once I accepted the fact that I was injured, great. I'm so much stronger now than I was then. So much stronger. And I'm happy for it.
I have to ask, what did you do?
I don't want to talk about it. No. It was really stupid. So stupid. So I was doing a bent over row with the barbell. And for whatever reason, I don't know what was going through my mind. I was trying to show off for no reason, for no one, just against myself, like showing off to myself, like, oh, let's go. Let's do another plate on each side. Let's go. And I lost my concentration it was a freaking second. A second. I lost my concentration and then boom, I felt the snap. I was like, oh, okay. Get up, walk it off. I was okay then. 24 hours later, I was driving from Canada back to New York, and I was in the car and I was like, okay, I'm approaching the last hour. I am in excruciating pain. Excruciating. Couldn't walk. When I got out of the car, I couldn't walk. I had to be assisted by a few people back into the house, and I couldn't do anything. I could barely take a step forward. It was bad. It was so bad. I had a disc herniation. It was bad. It was a very bad injury, and I was probably one of my lowest points in terms of how I emotionally and psychologically felt about myself. But I learned so much from that injury. I can't tell you. I can't even tell you how much. Just so much about myself, so much about what my body should and shouldn't do, what I shouldn't do up here in terms of exercising and training, how I can better prepare for these occasions, what my body still needs to do to make sure that this kind of thing never happens again, right? Just so much. It was such a valuable yet painful experience, but an experience nonetheless that shaped me even more so into who I am today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have one last question. What about those people that are in more of long-term pain? So it's not necessarily a one-off injury that could be solved in 3, 6, 9, even 12 months, but it's something that they have to either live with or think they have to live with. What would you kind of advise for them? Because I guess at that point, physio is more just about managing the pain.
Yes and no. I have a few people who, again, do not really managing, but people who have been in my care for a couple of years now, who are, they're labeled as chronic pain, right? Anything kind of over 3 to 6-ish months, that still are making gains, right? The pain is there, but the pain is so much less. And now it's I'll give you an example. I have a woman that I'm working with. She has occasional flare-ups and everything of certain back issues, certain things here and there, but she has come such a far way. She is amazing. Honestly, she is so amazing. And she continues to still make gains and improvements and getting stronger and being able to lift more and do more. And that's my message to people who have pain who are managing it. You can still make progress. Just because you're labeled as chronic pain does not mean you have to live with it with X amount of pain forever, right? This particular woman used to take 3 to 5 Advils a day.
Wow.
She hasn't taken one in months now. I couldn't even tell you the number, but that's what I mean. Even if it's decreasing how much you take Advil, if you're someone who takes 4 Advils a day, even just decreasing it to 2 is a huge deal. Huge.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's huge. Right? Taking it 1 a day, forget it. That's amazing. And then anything else, like you can still make gains to do 1 every other day, 1 every 2 days. And that's kind of the progression that we had, right? We started off with this number, we decreased it further and further until it was just 1 a day. Then it was like 1 every other day. Then we kept like a log of it, like trying to reach a new high score. Okay, I went 17 hours and 30 minutes without taking 1. Seriously, and that helped a lot. That helped a lot. Like,
I bet.
writing it down and physically seeing how much you took. Does she really need it? Right? Because at some point it becomes a habit to take Advil, because it's like, oh, 10 o'clock. My pain is about to happen now. Let's take an Advil.
Yeah.
Breaking that pattern, right? Anyone who's listening or who knows somebody who has chronic pain, tell them right now, don't stand for it. Don't sit for it. Don't stand for it, right? That's what I mean, bad jokes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay. But, I believe you now.
Thank you. It's about time. Hour, finally. But yeah, that's really it. Like, don't just take it, right? Always strive to improve. Always strive to get better, because you can. You just have to find the right person to guide you.
Yes. And for anyone that can see Danny is the right person. So if you can get yourself over, yeah. Yeah.
I tried to be.
No, that's great. I think that's a really good note to leave on, because it's a nice positive message that it doesn't matter what you're feeling. There is a way, there is an answer. You don't have to suffer either in silence or on your own. You just need to find the right person that can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Danny, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I've had a lot of fun and learned a lot.
It was a pleasure to be on. I feel kind of like almost like this was like a cleansing. I got to get so much off my chest and just to share. And this is really, really great. And people like yourself who have people like myself on and just spreading the message, whatever that person's message may be, is so important and needs, like, I really admire people like yourself. And this was so great. No, it's true, really, because you are, before it was like you have to be on the news, right, to spread any kind of message, or the newspaper, on the radio. But now you are able to offer direct access to information, direct access to individuals who people may not have ever heard from, right? And let alone across the ocean, right? So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing, and this was so much fun for me, and such a great experience, and you asked such amazing questions, and I'm so happy. I just so happy I got to share everything.
That's great. My head is probably about to explode, so before that happens, I'm gonna bid you farewell. But I've had a lot of fun, so thank you once again, guys. Please go and follow Danny on Instagram at official Danny Shapiro. I will link everything up in the YouTube description and in the podcast show notes tomorrow evening when it's up. They are amazing videos. Whether you've got pain or not, please check them out. It's just a nice little 10, 15 seconds of positivity in your day, every day. So thank you. That is what you have. And luckily there are no dad jokes in it. So don't worry about it.
None of those.
Awesome. Danny, once again, thank you. Everyone else, I'll be back same time, same place next week. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Bye.